Be your own firewall, guarding from cybersecurity threats. This presentation, I actually made it a few years ago, and looking through, all of it is still relevant. There's still more to add to it though, because especially with AI as a factor with cybersecurity and scams and how convincing they are, still an issue. But what I'm gonna do, we're gonna go over the agenda real quick. We're gonna define what a firewall is and what it does. Review what ways malicious attacks happen, because they come in a multitude of ways, and figure out what ways you can protect yourself from this. Now, this isn't gonna cover every action. I was just talking to someone before the program that if like a company gets hacked and has a release, there's not much you as an individual can do, but we're gonna go over everything that you as an individual can do, to the best of my knowledge, and that is relatively easy to do as well. So the first thing is, let's talk about what a firewall is. So a firewall is a type of security device or program, computer hardware, software, that can help protect your home network or your devices by filtering traffic, blocking outsiders from unauthorized access, and to the private data that's on your computer, your phone, whichever device has that firewall. That definition is coming from Norton, who also has cybersecurity software. That is their definition. And so a bit of a better way of explaining it, just in other words of what exactly a firewall is doing. We found this video by Kaspersky. They're also a cybersecurity company. So we're gonna watch a little bit of that as they have some visuals explaining exactly what a firewall is doing.
When surfing the internet, there are many dangers in the form of malware and hackers, all trying to gain access to your computer. Just like a security fence protects your home from burglars and intruders, a firewall keeps cybercriminals and hackers from penetrating your computer. A firewall acts as a defense system for a local computer against viruses, worms, trojans, brute force attacks, and other network attacks or attempts to compromise your computer. It can take the form of software, such as a security program, or hardware, such as a physical router. Both perform the same function, which is scanning incoming network traffic to make sure it doesn't contain blacklisted data. Firewalls scan each packet of data, which are small chunks of a larger whole, reduced in size for easy transmission, and make sure these packets don't contain anything malicious. Internet security software companies often bundle firewall solutions with their antivirus programs. In many cases, these firewalls are more sophisticated than those provided as part of a basic operating system. Common features of firewalls include the logging and reporting of attacks, successful or not, along with alarm notifications in the event of a breach. Just as with any network system, potential drawbacks of a firewall include a slowdown in traffic, especially if packets are being entirely analyzed by a user's local computer. In addition, some firewalls accidentally block legitimate sites, which can be corrected by making exceptions in the service's control panel and specifying which sites or ports are allowed past. Many computers lack even basic firewall protection, which is why it's important to make sure your computer is equipped with...
Okay, I'm gonna stop there because they're gonna spend the rest of the video advertising Kaspersky. And I'm just gonna move us to this next slide because there's an important tidbit that is on there, and especially it's been a few years since that specific video has gone out. Something that is different than what they say is every device you have at home, at least your smart devices, as well as your computer, has a base firewall that is built into the operating system. So most all devices, not including like Internet of Things devices, are likely going to have a firewall or antivirus as part of it. The thing is, those are pretty good for the most part, which is a bit different than what Kaspersky's trying to say with, they are a bit more sophisticated in terms of how you control them those paid ones. but they do essentially the same function as your base firewall. All firewalls, though, scan network traffic. They log and report attacks or potential attacks, analyze downloads and uploads, and protects from malware. Essentially, they're acting as a gatekeeper for your computer and your network as a whole. So, what does this mean when it comes to malware? Like, what are they talking about actually making an attack on your computer? So, again, Kaspersky has really good informational videos, and so they also have this on malware that's going to talk about different types of malware and what they do and how they reach you.
Viruses, worms, Trojans, and bots are all part of a class of software called malware. The overwhelming majority of malware is created to make money illegally, often by stealing sensitive and confidential information from victims' computers and mobile devices. Malware can also be used for cyber vandalism, cyber espionage, hacktivism, cyber warfare, and various other reasons. Malware can make entry onto your computer via questionable file downloads, visiting infected websites, or through email containing a seemingly benign link or attachment. Common types of malware. Viruses. Almost all viruses are attached to an executable file, which means the virus may exist on a system but will not spread until a user opens the infected program. Viruses often originate on the internet and spread when downloading a file infected with a virus, peer-to-peer file sharing, or email attachment. Trojan. A Trojan is a harmful piece of software that looks legitimate. Users are typically tricked into leading and executing it on their systems. Trojans can not only steal your sensitive data, they can also give cyber crooks access to your system. Trojans are employed to gain access to your computer's financial and personal information. Ransomware. Ransomware holds your PC hostage and demands money. It locks up your computer, threatening to destroy data, demanding ransom or a payment for release of your data, files, or to regain the ability to use your computer again. Spyware. Spyware secretly gathers private information about the user activity, such as internet usage, and logs keystrokes via the process of keylogging to steal passwords and other sensitive data. Worms. Worms can replicate themselves and infect multiple computers on a network, causing major damage. Network worms often use computer networks to spread, slowing down traffic and relying on security failures such as outdated operating systems and no antivirus programs installed. In contrast, viruses require the spreading of an infected host file. Worms are a standalone software and do not require a host or human help to spread. The best way to protect your system from malware is to keep your operating system clean by downloading regular patches, updates, and making sure that your computer is protected by the latest antivirus software.
All right. So, lots of different types of viruses and malware as a whole. All of it fits under the term malware. Basically, stuff that is trying to get your info. So, what do? Something that they mentioned is in that video is keeping your device's operating system up to date. That is the first recommendation for protecting yourself. If your devices, your software, and your devices, both of them, should be up to date. Now, most people and most devices start with automatic software updates, which is highly recommended for security's sake. If your program is out of date, it may be missing protections that the developers have patched in that operating system or in that program itself. And so generally you want to keep everything as up to date as possible. This includes the entire operating system. So right now, Windows 10 is still active for Windows computers, but Microsoft, who owns Windows, has been pushing for everyone to get on Microsoft or on Windows 11. Part of the reason is that Windows 10 is losing support this fall. So they are no longer going to be releasing updates for Windows 10, which means from this fall forward, Windows 10 devices or computers, they're going to be potential risk because there's no more updates coming. So if someone finds a new hole or something in Windows 10's code or computer, it's going to be out of luck. There's not going to be any patches to fix that that risk or vulnerability. When you don't necessarily have to buy a new computer, but it's recommended that you update the operating system on the computer to Windows 11. If your computer can get Windows 11, I'd recommend it moving to Windows 11 on that computer. Microsoft should be able to, they should be able to tell you if your computer can do that upgrade. But I know I've worked with folks, when I look at their computer, it only has 64 gigs of storage base. That more than likely won't be able to run Windows 11. So your computer itself is going to have a certain level of base specifications in order to do that upgrade. But I'm not going to be able to answer that without looking at your computer. Good question, though. Next up is ensuring the firewall or antivirus is up to date. If you're using the base firewall that is on your operating system, for like Windows, that's called Windows Defender, for example. If your operating system's up to date, then that is going to be up to date. If you're using something in addition to the basic firewall or antivirus on your computer, you'll want to make sure that either has auto updates or that you are manually updating it when those updates come out. And the next part is being your own firewall. So the next part of this program, I'm going to talk about the different ways that you can be your own firewall and what you can do to assist your software firewall, but also be vigilant in general wherever you go and whatever device you use. The biggest actual breach or reason there are breaches is actually human error rather than a firewall error. There are things that it does not matter if you have a firewall if you ignore all the warnings and continue to download something. So, first piece of advice is think twice before clicking. So it's happened to me where someone who's on like a friends list on social media or a friend of mine in general just sends me a link and is like, hey, take a look at this, with no other context. And if you click on it and it goes to a malicious site or a malicious link, then it is that, compromises the system, or sometimes your firewall will be like, hey, this link is fishy. Generally, you do want to listen to your computer when it's telling you something is potentially malicious.
And does it download just that fast? Or can you, like if you shut it all off, turn the whole computer down, will it stop it?
Potentially, but a lot of the time, that I'm not 100% sure if you turn it off mid-download, if it'll stop it. What I will say is before you even click, think about what is there, and before clicking on it, if you're any suspicion at all, ask that friend in a different medium, hey, I saw this link, what is it? Because something that has happened, this one actually got me. So this will be me sharing a story that got me. Is a friend sent me to join a server in a platform that I know. It's called Discord for those that know it. And in that server, to join, you have to verify yourself. Some servers actually do that, where you have to send admins on that server information. In this case, it was a QR code. To scan the QR code, and that'll let you in. Little did I know that QR code was basically malware that faked the Discord login, so it got your login information and then sent all of that to everyone you knew in seconds, basically. So it wasn't even something I downloaded, but it was scanned. And so things like that, shutting down, it wouldn't help. You're already at the point where it's too late. As soon as you do the thing it asks you to do, it's too late by that point. So I can't.
What did you do to get that off there?
So I actually had to completely, there are a few things. Firstly, as soon as that happened, to go into my settings, change the password, and then force log out of every single device that was currently logged in. And implement two-factor authentication. We're going to talk about that later. And then after that, I decided it wasn't worth it still and deleted the account and remade an account, which got rid of a lot of things I would have preferred to keep, like all messages I had, all the servers that I was in for that. It's a scenario you don't want to happen. In this case, like, it's unfortunate, but that was relatively low stakes. Like, it was, oh well, I'll refriend people and rejoin servers that I know I was a part of. In a different context, though, that could be bank account information. If I got that in an email as a QR code that was saying, log into your email, and I did that, and then it got my bank information, that's a problem.
Would it be able to get your bank information without your password and stuff that you set up from the bank? I mean,
say if you have a system that like your bank connects to your phone through either for an app or something like that, and it bypasses your typical login standards, yes. So if it's almost like even if you have something like two-factor authentication, if you give them the access to that authenticator, it doesn't matter they have two-factor authentication anymore. That's basically what that is. Now, banks are a bit more secure than like Discord, for example. They forcibly log you out every single time. So like that is a good thing. It's annoying, but it's a good thing overall. And you may have noticed lately that more companies are getting more strict about how much logging in you're allowed to do, or even how many attempts you have to log in, or how long your password is. Or Google is my nightmare as a library employee, because sometimes they do your password. If you're logging in from a new device, they'll make you do your password. They'll have you do a second authentication. I've had it twice now that they've done 3 different authentication methods before letting someone into their account. And it's annoying, it's inconsistent, but it is Google trying to prevent people's accounts from being taken from them. So, yeah. One of the things, though, about this Think Twice is that a lot of malicious programs, they try to make you feel like it is urgent. Like you'll get something, and I'm going to go to the next slide here. You'll get something like this. It's saying your software may be out of date, which goes in line with what I was saying. You want your software, your browsers to be current, and it's telling you, you should automatically update, which I also said, you should automatically update. But it's giving you all this information. It's like, you're doing this is a problem, install this to stop it. And there's a few issues when you see this. This could be a website that redirected you to this link. So sometimes you click on an ad somewhere and it brings you somewhere completely different, or you see your bar doing a lot of different things. Like the address bar goes through like 4 different addresses before landing you on this. It says download appsdesign.com is what that address bar is saying. It does like a bunch of different things, or it's part of a package that you downloaded with a software that you know is legitimate, but it's telling you to do all this stuff. This is an example of one of those malicious attacks where it's telling you something that's urgent. It has that exclamation point like, ooh, this is important, you should do this. That is a common tactic, that sense of urgency that it's trying to give you. And generally, if anything is trying to tell you that it's super urgent, you have to do this or you're in danger, it's probably, and not always, I have to say, probably malicious. I can't say always because sometimes that is legitimate, and we're going to talk about what to do in that case a bit later. But most of the time where you want to stop is you see this message and you think, am I expecting this? That is usually the case. Or what can I do to check if it is actually out of date is the thought process that I recommend people have. So one of the things with this is you can directly check the version of your software from within your browser. I actually can't show it on, actually no, I think I can. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna end this real quick. I'm gonna exit that. There is a link down here. So you can actually check if your browser is up to date without clicking on any link whatsoever. Now the issue is I can't press enter on this screen, so I'm gonna figure that out very quickly. There is, you know what? Aha! We have an on-screen keyboard. There we go. So it's telling you the exact steps on how to check if Chrome is up to date, where to look. So the top right, select those three dots, help and about Google. So if I do that right now, I go to help about Google Chrome, and it's telling me, oh, it's actually doing the update automatically, and it'll tell me once it's done to probably restart Chrome. I'm not going to do that right now because we're in a program going, but it's like that. Google tells you this is how you check, and it's ready to go and relaunch and get me the latest update for Chrome.
But you bypass, the bottom line is you bypass that other thing.
Yes, completely bypassed that. I went to check another way to see if it was up to date. And in fact, it wasn't completely up to date. Now, we have a completely IT department that works on our computers, and particularly this device in particular. So I'm not too worried about that. But on your home computer, you can check that as well. And even if you just do a Google search of update Google Chrome, Google forces like their official link to usually be at the top of the results. We're going to talk about Google ad results in a little bit, I think, and if not, remind me to talk about it because that is a common issue we see. So, all right, I'm going to start the slideshow again just to make sure we are not presenting from the beginning. There we go. So, let's move to the next slide. So, another way that you can protect yourself, and this is super common, is from email phishing. So, this could be, there's a different term for text phishing, which is smishing. But essentially, scammers are using email and text to trick people into giving them data or information. Similarly, a lot of the time, it's because of that urgency feeling that people get from them. And the Federal Trade Commission is all over this. This is something that the federal government is aware of happening on a mass scale. So the FTC particularly, they say checking out the website or check if you get something that is like trying to trick you into going to their website or calling a specific phone number for service, to check out the website or phone number indirectly, going to Google and searching for that company's website or phone number and calling that to be sure that that is their actual website or if that is legitimate. This way, you can make sure that you're getting something from the actual company or finding out the direct information from that company, what it is, rather than through email or text. Now, this is often where I mention to people, did you expect that message? Because sometimes if you set up to receive alerts from a company about a specific thing and you expect that from them, that can change things. However, it's still always good to be wary. Even for the things that I've set up alerts for, if I will get the alert in my email, but I do not click anything from the email, I go to that company, log into my account, and check on that account to see what's there, because I want to go through the way I trust and know to get to that company. So You can also talk to a colleague or a friend if that request is real or a phishing attempt. Sometimes you will see them attempt to fake get you into something by appearing like it's a friend or a colleague or HR to get you to do something. The way that you go around it is find a different communication channel. I've had to call or submit a ticket to our IT before at the library to be like, hey, is this legitimate or not? Because it looks like it's fake. One of our professional journals that we have online access to, when it gave it access, it said, your library journal account has been activated. Click here to go now. It looked exactly like a phishing attempt. We test our employees at the library on this, by the way. We are paranoid about phishing attempts because we regularly test everyone with InfoSec training for cybersecurity. And I had to ask, is this legitimate? And I got the answer. It's legit. It just looks weird. It just looks like a phishing attempt. And it's better safe than sorry in these cases, because maybe I click on that and it's like, oh, we'll take your payment information to get access. And I'm like, that's weird. Or you click on it and it tries downloading something. That can be a problem. So check another alternative means before clicking or doing something with that. And even then, I'd still recommend going that alternative route that you're more familiar with than through an email or a text. One thing I get very common text-wise is fake USPS text messages that my package has not been delivered. To make sure it gets delivered, click on the thing, and I don't have any packages coming my way. I know that for a fact. Happens, yep, still happens. Less so, but that's likely due to that work from the FTC to get rid of those chains that are trying to fake that, as well as blocking and reporting every one time I get one of those. So let's move to the next slide. Here's a good example of one. I like this one. You get an email from my university to you. Dear network user, this email is meant to inform you that your My University network password will expire in 24 hours. Please follow the link below to update your password. Yeah, this is an example of a phishing attempt. Oftentimes they make you, again, feel urgent. Like this has to be done now, and they want you to skip past thinking about it because they want you to act. Then they want you to enter your past login information or your current login, and now they have access to your university password or bank account or social media account, whatever it may be they're asking about. There are a few things to look at to understand that this is probably a phishing attempt. Firstly, I have never heard of or been to a university that does not name itself or put its logo on everything that they send to you. And this is just saying, my university. That's one of the first signs, is know who the sender is. If this was from, UW-Madison is my alma mater. If this was from UW-Madison, I'd expect it to come from University of Wisconsin-Madison, not random my university thing. I should be able to recognize who the sender is. I've got no idea who this is. The link looks like a good link, in all honesty, except for the not being my university. So I don't see anything necessarily there, but also I would expect the university to know my name. Not necessarily the case. Phishing they may already know your name based on public information. So I wouldn't take that, but I would expect my university to know my name if I'm already paying them to be there. And another thing, again, urgency. Your password expires, saying important, you have to do this. If you didn't expect to get that, like if you have to change your password once a year for some things, which sometimes you have to, some services make you do that, it comes once a year. There would never be a message like this. One of the services I use for ordering books for the library has me change the password every 4 months. It's annoying, but I know it's going to happen, and I also get it when I log in rather than from an email. I never get it from an email. It's when I log in, they're like, it's time to change your password. And I'm just like, okay, because I am directly on their website that I trust and know is the website. This is an attempted phish. Next one, it's the tax season. So this is always as part of the reason why I do this program at this time. It's tax season, and you get this message. And I have not heard of the IRS directly emailing someone. Now, that doesn't say they can't. I've had one case in 5 years of working here where someone mentioned that IRS emailed them. They called the IRS directly, and they had said that is a legitimate email. I've had it once in 5 years. I don't trust it 99% of the time, though, if I see an email that claims to be the IRS. Now, in this case, they're also not necessarily going to do that. They'd probably do a letter to you rather than your email, especially if you did not give them your email. You generally, now I have not used the newly available direct file to the IRS, so I don't know if they ask for your email in that service yet, because that's new as of this year, released to everyone in the States. But there are partners that they email you. If there's any of that free file program, the partners will email you, but not the IRS, because you give the partners your email, you don't give the IRS your email. But in this case, they're also giving a link to click on, and we are here to ensure the correct tax is paid at the right time, whether this relates to payment of taxes received by a department or entitlement to benefits. Yeah, it looks official though. It looks like the IRS, but did you expect it? No. If you did expect it, you may want to try another way around to contacting them to make sure it's legitimate. Now, there are also, this is directly from the IRS's website, to avoid email phishing and malware scams, scammers send emails to trick businesses and taxpayers to thinking this is official communication as part of phishing schemes. The IRS does not use email, text messages, or social media to discuss tax debts or refunds with taxpayers. They say that directly on their website. Now again, one time. I've seen one time from a patron's report that that is the case. Great for them. General advice is they will not email you. And they are always looking out for new warnings of IRS impersonation through email scams. The IRS does not send unsolicited emails. That's the important part. They're unsolicited. If you set up with the IRS to get an email from them, then you might be getting something from them, but they will not do unsolicited emails. Okay, here's another one, bank account. This one is highlighting a few areas to look at for a phishing alert. So the first one is, if you look at the top line, it might be a little hard to read from where you're at. It's saying from Wells Fargo's _support_online, but then the email, the direct email says Wells Online Bank 2 at Comcast.net. I have never heard of anyone who works at a bank account who does not have a specific email address that says at Wells Fargo or at Capital One or at something like that. First sign that something's weird. Second sign, the subject, it just says alerts with exclamation points. Again, that sense of urgency is what they're trying to get for you. That's really what they're attempting to do. And now, again, for your protection and security reasons, your Wells Fargo account has been locked. Making sure it's urgent, telling you, oh, you can't check the other way you should check. It's locked. And now here's the action it's trying to get you to do. Log in through the link that we're giving you instead of going to their website or using the app that you normally would use. So 3 things immediately that seem wrong. Now, this link looks legitimate. It really does. The thing is, it doesn't matter that it looks legitimate. You can make in an email this text look exactly like that and go to a malicious link anyway. You can do that. Is a possible thing in email. And that is part of why you cannot trust links from email as a best practice. You can make that text, doesn't matter what it says. It could go to a different URL, and that could be malicious. So this is what I mean all the time when think twice before clicking. You see that, just think about it, look at all the areas around, work around it. I wouldn't even trust that link, to be fair. Even so, it says wellsfargo.com. Wouldn't trust it. You have a logo? Nope. It's an email. It's trying to make me feel pressure to do something. And as far as I'm aware, Wells Fargo does not pressure you to do something outside of when you're logged in. Because once you're logged in, they're going to try to get you on a new credit card and all that. But that's when you're logged in, and that's directly from Wells Fargo. Completely different story. I'm not going to get into bank accounts trying to get more out of you to go into debt to them. So completely different program in that case. Okay. Question for you. Does what I'm saying apply to social media? Yes. Yes. Exactly. Yes, this applies to social media too. In fact, it's probably worse on social media than it is on email now.
That's why I don't use social media at all.
Yeah. Social media is a treasure trove of information for potentially malicious actors, especially because of things like social engineering, where they're pretending to be your friend only to get information out of you. This is extremely common, for example, with like dating apps, where someone has a completely fake profile, and now, especially with AI the way it is, they're increasingly more sophisticated, more realistic, and can fake being a person with the intent of getting your bank information or getting you into a scheme of some sort or getting you into something. That could also be just a friend on social media whose account got hacked, and if they don't have a way to tell you that it looks like it's them. I've had a literal copycat of a profile of a friend of mine when I had a Facebook account made and try to have a conversation with me. Same profile picture, same information, copy of the account. It was incredible. I was very disturbed by that. But really, it almost doesn't matter what platform you are on. There is probably going to be a way to send malicious messages, and really we all should be thinking about what we send or receive more, especially if it's coming out of the blue, if it's coming randomly, you're just like, this feels weird. I'd trust that feeling. So, adware. So this is another thing with social media, and this is also a recurring theme of the presentation as well. If any type of ad is telling you to install, download, or click or make you feel afraid that you should do those things, stop and think about it. Ads on websites can be malicious, even if they don't look like it. They call it, that's why it's called adware. It's very similar to malware. And these ads can sometimes bypass the general security and safety of like a commonly known website like Google. For example, let me see if I'm actually not going to be able to give an example right now, but Google search, oftentimes now, you will get your search, you'll get the AI overview now, you'll get their recommended like subject parts, and then you'll get ads after or in between any of those. And they say ad at the link. And despite it being an ad promoted by Google, that could potentially be malicious still. It can be. I'm not saying it will be every time. Most of the time it probably isn't, but it can be. They aren't able to vet every ad that potentially goes out there. I would recommend skipping, even if the advertisement, like if you're looking for Amazon and it says ad and it says Amazon.com, I'd still recommend scrolling down to the non-ad response and clicking that one, just because the ads could be malicious. Now, will that be the case every time? Like I said, no, it won't be. But I still recommend not clicking on ads wherever they are. I would do a search, find the product on your own if it actually looks interesting. I've had it happen twice now, only twice, that I've seen an ad that looks interesting to me, and actually made me want to go to their website and find the product. Only happened twice, did not click on the link. Went to their website directly, wherever it says their website is, found it, got there. But yes, they can be bait. That is the big issue. Now, Kaspersky also has more information about adware. And so I'm going to have them.
While on your computer or mobile device, you notice an annoying pop-up ad. Regardless of how often you close out of it, it keeps reappearing. Chances are it's adware, short for advertisement and software. Adware is the name given to programs that are designed to display advertisements on your computer or mobile device, redirect your search requests to advertising websites, and collect data about you. This information is then used to deliver custom advertisements to you. Adware is usually bundled with other files and programs that you have downloaded and is not necessarily harmful, however, it has the potential to be. Pop-ups, toolbars installed in your browser, and changes made to your homepage and default search engines are common occurrences with adware. Aside from the annoyance these issues cause, adware can massively slow down your computer's performance and can even crash the entire system. Adware can also be malicious by hijacking your browser and redirecting you to potentially unsafe sites. Most alarming is that some adware contains Trojan viruses and spyware, specifically designed for stealthy installation. Unfortunately, adware doesn't usually have an uninstall option, meaning that these types of programs can be difficult to remove. What's more, some antivirus solutions may not be able to determine whether a specific adware program is a threat or not. Fortunately, there are many ways to limit exposing your computer or mobile device to adware. For example, make sure that whatever files and programs you download are from a reputable website. When installing programs, carefully read through the terms and service agreement for any hidden adware that you might not be aware of. Pop-up blockers can also limit the exposure to adware. Not all adware is badware. However, for the dangerous forms of adware, equipping your computer and mobile device with the...
Okay. Yeah, adware is probably the most common thing that people interact with. And just because ads as a whole, they just kind of come up. I get this all the time in my one-on-one technology appointments where something annoying or a notification keeps coming up, and searching out the app that also has that adware attached to it is part of our discussion a lot of the time. But sometimes you could be downloading a program that you want from a legitimate website, and as you're downloading, there are like these checkboxes that are like, hey, do you want to install this, also install this browser with this thing? And it's automatically checked, and you have to uncheck it before you install the rest of the program. That is actually a very common way to get adware onto your devices, is when going through those terms, through that install process for the program you want. It's just like, it's also going to happen to install this secondary thing that if you skipped past everything, just clicked OK, 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 or next, or next, to next, it installs that as well. And then you're either stuck with it or you have to remove something else in particular. It's one of those bad things. Now, come on.
While on your computer...
I'm going to have that stop there. So the recommendations here is, one, only download from reputable sites. Again, that is not 100% because during the download, there could be a checkbox, so you have to read through every prompt when you're downloading software. That's the next part of the thing. The next is go through the terms of service. I go through terms of service as a professional as part of this job. It's never the most riveting reading that you can do, but there are particular areas. If you search for particular areas like advertising or selling or tracking in those terms of service, you'll be able to find areas with those terms and just read that portion instead of the whole thing, because they are long for the most part and get really annoying very quickly. And it's all in legalese, but if you're looking for the right words, you can skip through a lot of that.
So then are you saying, and once you know that, you can take that off? Like I suspect that the radio station that I downloaded at is sending me all these ads because I turn on my phone and I get all these stupid ads. If I were to delete that app completely, does that take all that away?
Potentially. Now, if this is I say potentially because for one, you have to be sure it's that particular thing. On phones, a lot of apps actually purposely send you notifications about a whole bunch of stuff. If you like the radio station, for example, you could simply turn off notifications from that app. And just when you go into it, that's when you want your notifications, or like you wanted to use it. If it is something that's like you're not even using it, and it's not just like a notification that's showing up, but it's like popping something up on your screen, that's probably a completely malicious ad, then I'd probably recommend removing it. But if it's just like it's giving you notifications of stuff, I'd recommend turning off the notifications rather than completely deleting it if it is something you want to keep. Because
have you heard of the ones that it seems to like take over your phone? It's like just one ad. It's just crazy. It's just like taking over my phone. I'm doing something else, and it's just like
yeah.
Person comes on there and he starts talking, and it's like
where's
it coming from?
If that is happening, I would recommend seeing a professional service for that, because if for somehow they have complete access to your phone, there are other issues abound that are even greater than just like preventative at that point. Because there are types of software that can give remote access to devices, like they can completely control things. Now, of course, I'm not looking directly at your phone, so I'm not certain that is the case with this one. Yeah. This could be like something comes up and it's just showing you visually and has audio to it. But if that was the case where it's like it was almost as if someone else was tapping through your phone, I would recommend seeking a professional service for dealing with like malicious viruses or malicious apps. Because at that point, if someone came in for a technology appointment at the library and they told me that, I would say you need more professional help than we can provide. Because we at the library, we can't like fix the device. We can give you advice and kind of look at it and kind of try to tell you, identify some things. But at that point, if something is like takes over your device when it comes up, we wouldn't be able to help. So I would recommend that if that is like the particular case, because nothing really should take over your phone or be like there's no way you can get out of it. Even pop-up ads that are from an app like usually can be taken off, but I have seen a case where it just keeps popping up ads as soon as it connects to the internet. It's just ad, and like just goes and goes. And at that point, I look at that person as like, yeah, this device either needs to be taken in for service or you need a new device, because this is beyond what I can help with. Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
I need to talk to my son.
Okay, yes. That I would highly recommend that. Hopefully this doesn't play the video. Good. Installing ad blockers, add-ons, or software to help avoid malicious ads. Now, I am a fan of ad blockers. There are companies that fight against ad blockers, like for example, YouTube and Google Chrome in general is pretty famously against ad blocking. And if you wanted to keep ads to like support services because those like content creators or whatever do need the money from ads, then generally with ad blocks you can whitelist different sites if you're going to use them. But ad blockers are one of the most consistent ways to avoid ads in general. So they can be very helpful for avoiding malicious ads that just kind of come up on your screen. The worst ones is usually sites that have a specific format and they wait 5 seconds and then the ad pops up and it makes you accidentally click on it because it messes with your flow. Yeah, those ones get me. I'd rather the ad just show up so I know what to click on to avoid, but then it's just, we're gonna expand the screen after a second and then you're already clicking on it by accident. Those ones, I start avoiding those websites. Okay, is clicking on ads safe? So this is where we talk about a little bit of what I was talking about, what's called malvertising, where attacks come from ads on legitimate websites. Some past malicious advertising campaigns targeted websites such as major companies of the London Stock Exchange, MSN, and Yahoo. So essentially, if there's an ad and you want to click on it, use an antivirus to be sure, and still recommending using an ad blocker in these cases. Okay, securing your surroundings. This one is something that surprises me as a thing, is that secure surroundings is pretty important. So, for example, having a secure password on all devices is part of securing your surroundings. And again, this is where websites have gotten annoying with their password requirements. And this is one of those things that's like, yes, it's annoying, but it is actually for your security. This is where we recommend using passphrases or what are called password managers. Passphrases would be for individual passwords where you use a phrase that is memorable to you, but it's hard to guess or make. That phrase can be very long while still easily remembered. I've got quite a few passphrases in my arsenal. I'm not going to tell you what my passphrases are for security reasons, but I've got a few of them that are pretty neat, but I remember them instantly.
So you're talking about like for your bank, or you're talking about something more specific?
Correct.
You're talking about just turning on your phone?
Correct.
Okay.
Like if it's something like turning on your phone, like I have a pattern lock for my lock screen for my phone. But if for my bank, I want a secure password that I don't use anywhere else, I'm going to use a passphrase that I remember, but if I don't want to write it down, I remember the passphrase, that's it, easy. Password managers, on the other hand, are something that manages all your passwords, so it can generate passwords for you. And as long as you have a master password that lets you into the password manager, then you are safe and secure, and it just remembers all your passwords for you and generates new passwords when you have a new service. I do have another program that's on password managers particularly, but I think I'll plan it for the summer this time around, so that'll be coming up. Next is securing your home Wi-Fi. If you have not changed your home Wi-Fi password from the default, you should probably do that. The default passwords can be guessed, or also sometimes there are a list of what default passwords are to give access to things. This is especially true for devices that are Internet of Things. For example, a lot of people now have like Ring cams or webcams that are at their doorbells or something like that. Those have default passwords to get into their network. And there is a particular website that is literally just built off of people's webcams that they have for their homes and lets you view what's on their webcam because they're unsecured because they didn't change the password. It's the entire website is just that. Yeah, I didn't know that until last year, and I saw the news story for it. But change your passwords for any devices that are Wi-Fi enabled, even if they're not something you normally think of having a password. They probably have a default password you got when you got the device. So that smart refrigerator, even though there are smart refrigerators, it has a password somewhere. I would check it, change it for the network access. Connect to secure and or known Wi-Fi networks. If you're at a coffee shop, I recommend asking the baristas what the Wi-Fi password is, because if anyone can make a Wi-Fi network that looks like it's someone else's, and if you join it and then they can view kind of your data that you're going through traffic-wise, if it's an unsecured one, it has no password, but it looks enticing. The only caveat to this one I know of, right now at least, is the library's Wi-Fi, because it is an open network, but our IT has various security measures that keep that protected for our patrons. So joining our Wi-Fi, perfectly reasonable and fine. And again, if you don't know, ask before connecting. Ask the hotel, ask the hospital, ask the Starbucks. What's your Wi-Fi network? What's the password? Before logging in to make sure that is secure. All right. Any questions? Because we are at the end of our program. Hi. So, any questions, thoughts?
No, I just think you're screwed.
Honestly, it kind of. Now, I don't talk about breaches in this program, but we talked before. There's really not much we can do about breaches of companies themselves. That is them not knowing this program or making something insecure that we unfortunately cannot do something ourselves, at least. It's unfortunate that is the level of care that companies get to protecting some data. But that's where, government entities try to fit into adding better consumer protections. But the government is a bit slow when adopting new things, especially in the technology fields. So that, unfortunately, I don't got much for that, except sometimes maybe looking before signing up for a company, see what the history is. Have they had many breaches before? Have they done something to their consumers that is poor service in general? But that's a lot of work. A lot of the things that I say in programs is a lot of work for the individual. So
Makes things rough.
Yes, but at minimum, you have better information of what you can do.
For sure.
Because if bad actor, it could be. I guess it could be worse. Is what I'd say there. Because if you get scammed out of your bank account information, oof.
What gives people the right to do that? There is no answer. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. I'm not really asking for an answer, but it's like people just think there's a quick way to bypass hard work and get around in life. And
Yep.
Let's just take it from somebody else who doesn't even suspect it.
Yep.
And I feel bad for some of the older individuals that I know that have they're totally oblivious and
Yep.
too bad.
And I hear stories, people tell me often, stories of what happens. Luckily nowadays, I'm seeing more people ask the library staff. So I mentioned that library staff are all getting trained in cybersecurity and information to the point we can advise people on if something is a scam or not. And we have people come in and be like, hey, I got this from this account. I do have an account there, but do you think this is a scam? And we'll take a look at it and we'll be like, well, let's go through the thought process. Let's see, log into your account. I did have an appointment that was exactly like that. Someone's Microsoft 365 subscription was potentially ending, and they were getting notifications that they have to pay to renew their subscription from Microsoft. And I see those emails, and I'm like, it looks like a fish. But, we're going to go through the steps. Let's, your login information. Let's check there, see what your account is. And if it says in your login information, this is expiring, it's probably legitimate, but do it from that website. So, more people are asking at least.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
But again, we talked about this before. If there's a mass mail from United Healthcare that their partner that processes their data, and this happened last summer. So this happened. And people ask me, what do I do? And I was like, freeze your credit accounts. You have to do all three because you can't just do one. You have to do all three. And good luck.
Right.
So it's rough. It's a rough world.
It is. It's a shame. It shouldn't be that way.
But hey,
We shouldn't have to work so hard
right?
to keep what we worked for.
Well, thanks for coming. Thank you.